In the tranquil suburb of Oakdale, where manicured lawns and picket fences paint a picture of idyllic American life, a storm is brewing beneath the surface. This is a tale of prejudice, power, and the unexpected turn of fate that would shake the foundations of this seemingly peaceful community. Our story revolves around four individuals whose lives are about to collide in a dramatic fashion. First, we have Officer Martin Jacobs, a veteran of the Oakdale Police Department known for his stern demeanor and unwavering adherence to what he calls law and order. Jacobs' reputation precedes him on these quiet streets. Then there's Grace Jacobs, Officer Jacobs' daughter, a bright, compassionate young woman whose world is about to be turned upside down as she finds herself caught between family loyalty and her own sense of justice. Tyler Wills is a charismatic and intelligent young man who's captured Grace's heart. Tyler's dreams are as big as his smile, but in Oakdale, he's about to face a nightmare he never saw coming. As we delve into their story, we'll uncover the simmering tensions that have long existed in Oakdale. Whispered conversations at neighborhood barbecues, sidelong glances at community meetings, and the unspoken rules that govern who belongs and who doesn't. All of these undercurrents are about to surge to the surface. Little do these four individuals know that their actions over the next few days will not only change their own lives forever, but will also force an entire community to confront its deepest held prejudices and re-examine what justice truly means in Oakdale. The stage is set for a drama that will remind us all that karma has a way of finding those who least expect it, and that sometimes the most powerful changes come from the most unexpected places. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across Oakdale's pristine streets, our story takes a dark turn. Officer Jacobs, returning home after a long shift, pulls into his driveway. The sight that greets him shatters his expectations of a quiet evening. There, on his front porch, stands his daughter Grace. Locked in their own world, are oblivious to the approaching storm. Officer Jacobs' face contorts with a mix of shock and barely contained rage. In a heartbeat, years of deeply ingrained prejudice and misplaced protectiveness explode to the surface. Officer Jacobs storms towards the couple, his hand instinctively reaching for his badge. The tranquil evening air is suddenly pierced by harsh, accusatory words. What unfolds next is a scene of escalating tension and blatant abuse of power. Officer Jacobs, blinded by his own biases, begins to interrogate Tyler, his questions loaded with assumptions, each word dripping with thinly veiled racism. The officer's tone grows increasingly aggressive, his posture intimidating. Tyler, caught off guard and deeply offended, tries to maintain his composure. He attempts to explain his presence, his relationship with Grace, but each word seems to fall on deaf ears. Grace, her face a mask of horror and disbelief, tries to intervene, her voice trembling as she pleads with her father to stop. But Officer Jacobs is beyond reason. In a shocking abuse of his authority, Jacobs begins to pat Tyler down roughly, searching him without cause or warrant. The young man's protests are met with harsh commands to stay silent. Grace's objections are dismissed with a stern glare. The situation reaches its horrifying climax as Officer Jacobs, fabricating charges on the spot, begins to handcuff Tyler. The young man's wrists are wrenched behind his back, the cold metal of the handcuffs a stark contrast to the warm evening air. Tyler's face, once full of joy, now reflects fear and humiliation. Grace watches in stunned silence as her boyfriend is forcibly led to her father's patrol car, her world crumbling around her. Torn between her love for Tyler and her lifelong respect for her father, the conflict written across her face speaks volumes about the internal struggle she's facing. As the patrol car's door slams shut with Tyler secured in the back, the gravity of the situation begins to sink in. Officer Jacobs, his face set in grim satisfaction, seems oblivious to the pain he's causing his own daughter. Grace stands alone on the porch, her arms wrapped tightly around herself, as if trying to hold together the pieces of her shattered reality. The patrol car pulls away, leaving behind a neighborhood in shock. Curtains twitch as curious neighbors peer out, whispered conversations already beginning to spread the news. In the span of mere minutes, the facade of Oakdale's peaceful existence has been irreparably cracked, exposing the ugly prejudices that have long festered beneath the surface. As night falls on Oakdale, the ripples of this incident begin to spread. Little does Officer Jacobs know that his actions this evening have set in motion a chain of events that will shake the very foundations of his world. The wheels of karma have begun to turn, and retribution looms on the horizon. As the first light of dawn breaks over Oakdale, the repercussions of last night's events begin to unfold like a relentless tide. In the cold, impersonal confines of a jail cell, Tyler sits alone, his world turned upside down in the span of a few short hours. The stark reality of his situation weighs heavily upon him, each tick of the clock a reminder of the injustice that brought him here. Meanwhile, in the Jacobs household, Grace's distress is palpable. She paces the floor of her bedroom, tear-stained cheeks reflecting the internal turmoil that rages within her. Her phone lies silent on her bed, her desperate messages to Tyler left unanswered. The distance between them, once measured in mere streets, now feels insurmountable. Officer Jacobs, seemingly oblivious to the pain he's caused, goes about his morning routine with an air of self-righteousness. But beneath his confident exterior, a seed of doubt begins to take root. The memory of his daughter's anguished face haunts him, a silent accusation he can't quite shake. As the morning wears on, the incident that began in one family's front yard has grown to engulf the entire community. Lines are being drawn, alliances formed and broken in homes, offices, and coffee shops across Oakdale. People are being forced to confront their own biases and beliefs. Little do they know, this is only the beginning. The events set in motion by Officer Jacobs' actions are about to spiral far beyond his control, reaching into the highest echelons of power and threatening to unravel the very fabric of Oakdale society. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, one thing becomes clear. Nothing in this town will ever be the same again. But even as Oakdale grapples with this upheaval, a new player enters the scene. Dr. Anthony Wilson, Tyler's father, emerges from the shadows of anonymity. A distinguished figure in law enforcement, Dr. Wilson serves as the Deputy Director of the State Bureau of Investigation. His reputation for integrity and his unwavering commitment to justice precede him, commanding respect from even the highest echelons of power. There's an aura of quiet authority about Dr. Wilson that comes from years of navigating the complex world of high-stakes law enforcement. His calm demeanor belies the determination in his eyes as he strides into the police station, his very presence sending ripples of unease through the department. Meanwhile, in the corridors of power, Dr. Wilson moves with purposeful precision. His position as Deputy Director of the State Bureau of Investigation grants him access to resources and connections that span the entire justice system. With measured steps, he begins to leverage his influence not through brute force, but through a carefully orchestrated plan to ensure that justice is served. Dr. Wilson's approach is multifaceted. He initiates confidential conversations with judges he's worked with over the years, subtly ensuring that Tyler's case receives fair and immediate attention. His connections in the media are quietly alerted to the unfolding story, guaranteeing that the incident doesn't get buried in local news. Perhaps most significantly, he reaches out to his counterparts in the FBI Civil Rights Division, laying the groundwork for a potential federal investigation into systemic issues within the Oakdale Police Department. Yet, despite his high-ranking position and far-reaching influence, Dr. Wilson remains largely unseen to the public eye. He operates in the background, a master strategist whose every move is calculated to bring about justice without compromising the integrity of the legal process. His years of experience have taught him that true change comes not from public grandstanding, but from methodical, irrefutable action within the system itself. As the sun reaches its zenith over Oakdale, the gears of justice begin to turn, their motion set into play by forces unseen. Within the sterile confines of the police department's internal affairs division, a flurry of activity marks the beginning of an investigation that will shake the force to its very core. Detective Lisa Burns, a seasoned investigator known for her uncompromising pursuit of the truth, sits at her desk, poring over the initial report of last night's incident. Her brow furrows as she reads Officer Jacobs' account, the inconsistencies in his statement standing out like red flags. With a determined set to her jaw, she begins to dig deeper. As Detective Burns delves into Officer Jacobs' service record, a disturbing pattern begins to emerge. Buried beneath years of commendations and positive reviews, she uncovers a trail of complaints, each one speaking to a history of racial profiling that had until now gone unchecked. Incidents were dismissed, witnesses intimidated into silence, all painting a picture of a man who had long abused his power behind the shield of his badge. Meanwhile, in the shadowy corridors of power, Dr. Anthony Wilson moves with quiet purpose. His influence, like an invisible current, begins to flow through the city's elite circles. A word here, a favor called in there. Dr. Wilson orchestrates a symphony of pressure that bears down upon the department from all sides. Yet he remains unseen, a puppet master whose strings reach far and wide. Back at the station, Officer Jacobs finds himself under increasing scrutiny. His colleagues, once supportive, now regard him with a mix of suspicion and unease. The weight of his actions bears down upon him as he's called in for questioning, his confident demeanor beginning to crack under the relentless pressure of Detective Burns' inquiries. As the investigation progresses, evidence against Officer Jacobs mounts at an alarming rate. Grace's social media post, which she ultimately decides to share, goes viral, bringing national attention to Oakdale's small-town drama. Body cam footage from the night of the incident, initially reported as missing, mysteriously resurfaces, providing damning visual evidence of Jacobs' misconduct. In a stunning turn of events, other victims of Jacobs' past transgressions begin to come forward, their stories long silenced by fear and institutional indifference now forming a damning chorus of accusation. Each testimony adds another brick to the wall of evidence being built against the once respected officer. Dr. Wilson's behind-the-scenes maneuvering begins to bear fruit. Key figures in the city's administration, feeling the heat of public scrutiny, start to distance themselves from Officer Jacobs. The thin blue line, once a bulwark of protection, begins to crumble in the face of overwhelming evidence and political pressure. As day turns to night, Detective Burns finds herself standing before a wall covered in photos, reports, and connecting threads, a visual representation of Officer Jacobs' years of misconduct. The scope of his actions, now laid bare, is staggering. She realizes that this case has grown beyond one incident, beyond one officer. It has become a reckoning for the entire department. In his home, Officer Jacobs sits alone, the weight of his actions finally sinking in. The sounds of protesters outside calling for justice serve as a constant reminder of how far he has fallen. His phone, once constantly buzzing with messages of support from fellow officers, now sits silent, a tangible symbol of his growing isolation. As the investigation reaches its climax, the city of Oakdale holds its breath. The foundations of trust upon which their community was built have been shaken. Citizens watch with a mix of anticipation and apprehension, knowing that the outcome of this investigation will define their town for years to come. Little do they know, The most shocking revelations are yet to come. As the wheels of justice continue to turn, the true extent of the corruption within the Oakdale Police Department is about to be laid bare, and no one, not even Officer Jacobs, is prepared for what will be uncovered. As the investigation reaches its zenith, the tranquil facade of Oakdale is shattered by a revelation that sends shockwaves through the entire community. The true identity of Tyler's father, Dr. Anthony Wilson, is finally unveiled to the public in a dramatic turn of events that no one could have anticipated. In a press conference that will be remembered for years to come, Dr. Wilson steps into the blinding glare of camera flashes. Gone is the quiet, unassuming demeanor he maintained thus far. In its place stands a man radiating authority. His voice resonates with the weight of his position as he introduces himself. I am Dr. Anthony Wilson, Deputy Director of the State Bureau of Investigation. The revelation falls like a thunderbolt on the gathered crowd. Journalists scramble to update their stories, while city officials shift uncomfortably, the implications of this disclosure dawning on them with alarming clarity. Meanwhile, in the Oakdale Police Department, the atmosphere is electric with tension, as Officer Jacobs watches the live feed in the break room, feeling the blood drain from his face. The realization of his grave mistake crashes over him like a tidal wave. The man he so callously disrespected, whose son he wrongfully arrested, isn't just any concerned father. He's one of the most powerful figures in state law enforcement. Jacob's colleagues cast sidelong glances at him, a mix of pity and disdain in their eyes. In that moment, Jacobs understands that his career, his reputation, everything he's built over the years stands on the brink of destruction. The weight of his actions, magnified 100-fold by this revelation, threatens to crush him. But Dr. Wilson isn't done. With measured words, he outlines the full extent of his involvement in the case. He speaks of the systemic issues plaguing not just Oakdale but police departments across the state. He announces a comprehensive review of police practices, emphasizing that this case has exposed a festering wound that can no longer be ignored. As Dr. Wilson speaks, his calculated moves over the past days come into sharp focus. The quiet conversations, the strategic application of pressure, all of it has been leading to this moment. He's not just seeking justice for his son, he's leveraging this incident to push for sweeping reforms. The impact of Dr. Wilson's words ripples through the state's power structures, in governor's offices, police precincts, and city halls. Phones start ringing off the hook. The incident in Oakdale is no longer a local matter. It's become a catalyst for a statewide reckoning. Back in Oakdale, Grace watches the press conference on her laptop, tears streaming down her face. She feels a complex mix of emotions, relief that the truth is finally out, pride in Tyler's father, and a deep, aching sadness for the fractures this has caused in her own family. As Dr. Wilson concludes his address with a powerful statement that resonates with everyone listening, this is not about revenge. This is about justice, accountability, and ensuring that no other family has to endure what mine has. It's time for change, and that change starts here today in Oakdale. The press conference ends, but its echoes will be felt for a long time to come. In homes, offices, and street corners across Oakdale and beyond, people begin to discuss, debate, and digest the implications of what they've just witnessed. For Officer Jacobs, for the Oakdale Police Department, for the entire community, nothing will ever be the same again. The veil has been lifted, the truth exposed, and now, in the harsh light of this revelation, the real work of justice and reconciliation must begin. In the wake of Dr. Wilson's revelations, the consequences of that fateful night unfold with swift and decisive force. The Oakdale Police Department, under intense scrutiny, moves quickly to distance itself from Officer Jacobs's actions. Within hours of the press conference, Officer Martin Jacobs is suspended without pay pending a full investigation. The police chief, his face grave, announces this decision to a pack of hungry reporters. But this is just the beginning of Jacobs' fall from grace. As the days pass, the evidence against Jacobs mounts. Internal Affairs uncovers a pattern of racial profiling and abuse of power spanning years. Victims, emboldened by the current climate, come forward with their stories. Each testimony is another nail in the coffin of Jacobs' career. The district attorney's office, under pressure from both the public and Dr. Wilson's influence, announces its intent to pursue criminal charges against Jacobs. The once respected officer now faces the very real possibility of serving time behind bars. A poetic twist of fate for a man who unjustly put so many others there. Meanwhile, Tyler is released from custody, all charges against him dropped. He emerges from the police station to a hero's welcome, supporters cheering his vindication. The young man, though shaken by his ordeal, stands tall, his dignity intact. Grace, torn between family loyalty and her sense of justice, makes a decision that will define her future. In a poignant moment captured by local news cameras, she walks up to Tyler outside the courthouse and takes his hand, a clear statement of where she stands. Her father watches from a distance, finally seeing the full consequences of his actions reflected in his daughter's eyes. The community of Oakdale, once divided, begins to shift its perspective. Those who initially supported Jacobs now grapple with the undeniable evidence of his misconduct. Conversations about race, privilege, and justice dominate town hall meetings and dinner tables alike. A sense of collective shame gives way to a determination for change. But, for Officer Jacobs, the karma he's accrued over years of unchecked prejudice and abuse of power comes crashing down all at once. His suspension turns into a termination. His pension, the security he counted on for his future, is revoked. Former friends and colleagues shun him, unwilling to be associated with his disgrace. As criminal charges loom, Jacobs faces the ultimate irony. He finds himself on the other side of the law, experiencing the same fear and uncertainty he once inflicted on others. His world, once defined by the power and respect his badge commanded, crumbles around him. In a final crushing blow, he learns that his case will be prosecuted by none other than a protege of Dr. Anthony Wilson. The man who once patrolled the streets of Oakdale with impunity now finds himself trapped in a nightmare of his own making. A living testament to the adage that justice, though sometimes slow, is ultimately inescapable. As the dust settles on this tumultuous chapter in Oakdale's history, the incident's broader implications begin to crystallize. What started as one man's prejudiced actions has catalyzed a seismic shift in the community's approach to law enforcement and racial justice. The Oakdale Police Department, under new leadership, embarks on a journey of transformation. Mandatory bias training, community outreach programs, and a citizen oversight committee are just the first steps in rebuilding trust. The blue wall of silence that once protected officers like Jacobs begins to crumble, replaced by a culture of accountability and transparency. Dr. Wilson, true to his word, leverages this incident to push for statewide reforms. His efforts lead to the creation of a task force dedicated to reviewing and overhauling police practices across the state. Tyler, inspired by his father's actions and his own experiences, decides to pursue a career in civil rights law, determined to fight for justice from within the system. Grace, having chosen love and justice over blind loyalty, becomes an outspoken advocate for police reform. Her unique perspective as both the daughter of a disgraced officer and the partner of a victim of racial profiling lends weight to her voice in community discussions. As for Officer Jacobs, his story becomes a cautionary tale, a reminder of the heavy price of prejudice and abuse of power. His journey from respected officer to disgraced defendant serves as a powerful deterrent for those who might be tempted to follow in his footsteps. In the end, Oakdale emerges from this ordeal forever changed. The incident forces the community to confront uncomfortable truths about racism and privilege, sparking difficult but necessary conversations. Slowly but surely, a new Oakdale begins to take shape, one that strives to live up to the ideals of justice and equality for all. As our story draws to a close, we're left with a powerful reminder that justice, though sometimes delayed, will not be denied, and that the consequences of our actions, good or bad, will eventually find their way back to us. Even in the darkest moments, the human spirit's capacity for growth, forgiveness, and positive change can light the way forward in Oakdale and perhaps beyond. The events of those few fateful days will long be remembered not just as a scandal, but as the beginning of a journey toward a more just and equitable society. It's a journey that continues to this day, with each step forward a testament to the enduring power of truth, accountability, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for daily stories that inspire change and spark conversation.